Hello, ako si Jairo Boliedo and welcome to Rappler Talk. Ngayong araw makakasama natin ang top 1 sa 2022 bar examinations from the University of the Philippines, si Czar Matthew Gerard Dayday na may score na 88.8083, ang top notcher natin ngayong taon. Welcome to Rappler, Matthew.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much first and congratulations. And thank you for making time for us. All right. First things first, Matthew. People are really curious about this. Where were you and anong ginagawa mo the moment na nalaman mo yung results when Justice Kagiwa was reading the top notchers list?
I was actually with my family, so I was at home, and then sabi namin na we would wait for the results together. So I was at home, tapos we were just watching the live stream. So nung sinabi ni Justice Kagiwa na he was instructing the PIO to upload the results, syempre kami we were like, oh, medyo matagal pa yan kasi ina-upload pa. So we didn't want to go off the live stream first. Tapos after that, he announced the top 30 already. Tapos when he said my name, yung first thought ko talaga was, oh, baka may ibang Dayday. And then I realized na, oh, that's me. So when it really hit everyone na parang we were all just crying, just shouting na, oh my gosh, didn't only pass, but I topped the bar pa. So yun.
Yeah, and what's the best time to hear the good news or the best news rather kung kasama natin yung family natin. Ngayon, medyo mag-cut tayo ng slack kasi people are really curious about how you manage to achieve your dreams, di ba? Hindi madaling makagraduate ng undergrad, more so ng law, and more so topping one of the hardest examinations in our country, in the society as a whole. So anong secret mo daw? Paano ka nag-review sa bar? Kasi ang daming aspect ng ng bar examinations, may criminal law, may civil law, international mercantile. So paano mo siya ginawa?
Well, ako, before I formally started my review, I made sure na I had my calendar first. So I started my review in June, and then the bar exams were in November. So parang before I really started, I laid out everything that I need to study, I laid out my schedule, and then I was like, kapag kailangan, for example, in July, in August, in September, I have these certain milestones na dapat ma-hit ko na by then. And then, ayun, I think it's just a matter really of making sure na every day I would try to meet my goal as much as possible, but also ensuring na I would get some sleep, I would get some time to rest, do the things that I like, para hindi ako ma-burn out and para there's still a good balance. And of course, it's also surrounding myself with the right people for the journey. Kasi, for example, me, yung ginawa ko was, I have these 3 friends. So we're a group of friends na also studying for the bar together. Tapos siguro starting around August, we would go on Zoom every night around 8 or 9 p.m. Tapos mag-aaral lang kami doon. Parang kaming apat, we weren't really talking. Tapos di rin kami pare-pareho ng subject na inaaral. Pero we're all just studying together. Then asking random questions para at least, there are people who are holding you accountable while you study na, nag-aaral ka, hindi lang kung ano na ginagawa mo at that time. Tapos sinasabi mo nag-aaral ka. And then after that, after maybe 2 or 3 hours, you just, unwind, chill, kwentuhan, play Scribble, gano'n. So at least it's basically plotting everything out, making a calendar schedule for yourself and sticking to it, but also realizing that it's not set in stone. It could be flexible if circumstances warrant. And also surrounding yourself with the right people.
Yeah. Law school buddies talaga are the best.
Yeah.
No? Kasi they hold you accountable kapag hindi ka nag-aaral. Ngayon, we've learned din na I think you're working na rin, tama, sa isang legal firm.
Yes.
So how did you manage to do it? Kasi ang hirap mag-review. And then you have like responsibility pa doon sa job mo. How did you manage to do it?
Actually, I signed my contract with my firm siguro last year pa, but I only started working talaga after the bar exams. So I took the bar in November and I only started with the firm in January.
Yeah. Oo. Punta naman tayo dun sa law school era mo. Sa law school, may subject ka ba na pinaka-hinate? Pinaka-nahirapan ka?
Siguro, I think it had to be Remedial Law.
Remedial Law.
Specifically, yung Civ Pro subject namin. Kasi I think, well, one of the subjects with the biggest number of units is Civ Pro talaga. So 5 units siya. And I think that was the time pa na yung SEM namin was cut in the middle because the COVID-19 pandemic hit. So, if I'm not mistaken, COVID really hit March 2020. And our SEM non was from January to June 2020, supposedly. So, not only was I facing a subject na difficult in terms of subject matter, but it was also made difficult by the different circumstances na the pandemic brought about. So, we had to uh, stop for a bit kasi nga, syempre, who would be able to study in a global pandemic? Tapos, ayun. So, it was a matter of really adjusting to the pace, really adjusting to the circumstances, but also trying to understand the heavy subject matter that would have been better if discussed siya face-to-face or, with proper interaction. So, medyo, I think that was a bit of a difficulty for me in law school also.
Yeah, and how was it going to the bar examinations? Because of course, I think remedial law is still, part of the examinations. How was it? Like, it's one of the hardest subject you've taken, and then kailangan mo siyang i-face ulit sa bar exam sa mismo.
Well, ako kasi, nung nag-review ako, I parang before then I started my review, I planted out na, okay, the bar has 8 subjects. These are the subjects na, okay, feel ko naman confident ako na okay yung foundation ko in these subjects. And then these are another group of subjects na not too good, not too bad. And then these are the last group of subjects at yung talagang feel ko medyo mahina ako or I need to focus on. So, I focused more on those subjects na feel ko medyo mahina ako or medyo kailangan ko pang siyang reviewin ulit. So at least when it came to the bar, even if remedial law was a bit difficult for me in law school, dahil medyo siya yung one of my focuses during the review, it equalized out. So when it came to the remedial law subject on the bar, parang okay, I think kaya naman.
Yeah, tama nga. Sabi nga nila, reinforce your weak points. Nabanggit mo na rin kanina yung pandemic. Kayo yung second batch ng mga bar passers na naka-experience ng pandemic, di ba? The first batch was during 2020-2021, the Leonen Bar, and then ngayon the Kagiwao Bar. How was it? How was studying law? Tapos, I mean, kalahati lang or wala pa yata sa kalahati ng law school life mo ay face-to-face, and then the rest online na. How did you manage to adjust?
Well, Jairo, it really was difficult at first kasi yun nga, I think everyone really struggled to adjust na how would you try to study at your home. Ako personally, at first, I didn't like studying at home kasi gusto ko na when I'm studying, it's in a different environment. Na para talagang that's the environment for studying. Tapos home is really where I can relax, rest, do the things I like. So I really had difficulty na nagko-conflate yung two areas na yun. But it was also a matter of finding what worked for me. So for example, at my house, I would study in one place only. Para kapag nandun ako sa place na yun, okay, that's just for studying, or that's just where I would take my classes. And then the other parts of the house, kapag nandun ako, hindi ako mag-aaral, or those are the places na, okay, this is where I can relax, this is where I can read, I can watch TV, ganun. Para kahit pa paano, mayroon pa ring boundaries between life and school, para hindi nag-creep into that work-life balance. And then, of course, also, it was also a matter of coordinating with our professors. Kasi, well, before in law school, the traditional sense of law school is really go to class and then you recite some cases, recite the concepts. Basically, that's how the face-to-face law school worked. Pero it was a whole different thing entirely when it came to online classes. And I think we all realized that simply, transplanting that method into online classes, mag-recite ka via Zoom, is still, it wasn't 100% working. So I think I'm also happy that a lot of our professors really tried their best and made adjustments on how they would deliver the lesson content. So we were exploring different modalities, ganon. So I think yun also yung nakatulong to help us adjust. And of course, it was also a matter of, like what I said earlier, really being with the right people. So what I would do kapag nag-aaral kami, minsan I would zoom with my friends, or I would just go on calls with my friends kapag kailangan namin ng people who would study with us. Kasi hindi na nga pwedeng we would all study out in the library or in coffee shops. So dinadala na lang namin siya through Zoom.
Yeah. Very a very strong group of circle, diba? Of friends.
Mhm.
Now, let's go to your dream of being a lawyer. Can you walk us through how did it start? Do you have like fellow lawyers in the family,
Mhm.
or parang what ignited the fire in you?
Actually, I'm the first lawyer in the family. So I think I wanted to become a lawyer when I was back in high school because I saw how in TV shows or in movies na these lawyers were, oh, you know, parang they were really good figures na walking around in court. They were dressed well, making good arguments. Parang they seemed very, very powerful. So I was like, oh, I want to be like that one day. Tapos, syempre, when I grew up, I realized na being a lawyer isn't really the same as that, how the TV or media portrays it. But I still realized that this would be a good way for me to help others, and it would be a good way for me to solve problems as well. Parang ako, I liked solving problems, figuring things out, ganon. So I think that's really why I wanted to, why I pursued this profession in the first place.
And growing up, we look up to people. For example, parang how we react to the world, our parents influence us in terms of professional growth, in terms of our professional life. Meron tayong nililook up, meron tayong model. Meron ka bang parang legal luminary, fictional, or totoong tao na nilook up mo na lawyer or judge or prosecutor or any legal professional na nag-inspire sa'yo to become a good lawyer talaga? And sorry, to become a lawyer talaga and to eventually ace the bar?
Well, one of the professors I've had in my first year was the late Professor Ruben Balane. So he was just this really, he had this gravitas towards him na he was really, really knowledgeable. Parang he was old na at that time, pero you could really see it, and ang dami niyang alam. He was really teaching as well. And I think even the other professors really looked up to him as one of the greatest, civil law luminaries. So I was really inspired by him na parang I felt it was an honor to be taught by someone that good. And I wanted to aspire to become someone na as great as that. Na he was very kind. He wasn't really mayabang or flaunting that he knew so much, but you could just see it. Na he has this aura of someone na who had a lot of great experiences, who had a really, really brilliant mind. So I wanted to become someone like that. Na I would be able to learn about different things, accumulate all of these experiences, and share them with other people.
Yeah. Ganda talaga na meron tayong professor na talagang parang anchor natin kasi iba talaga experience, iba talaga yung impact. No? Parang sa Bar Boys, 'di ba? Si Miss Can.
Yeah.
Ngayon, merong update doon sa kayo din yung first batch of lawyers who will use the most updated code of conduct for lawyers, the code of professional and responsibility and accountability, the CIPRA, na in-update lang, authored by of course Justice Amy and Justice C and Justice Garland. Pero aside from that, meron ding update on lawyer's oath. Ngayon punta muna tayo sa CIPRA. Anong thoughts mo bilang isang Gen Z, tama ba? Na lawyer or millennial na lawyer. May update kasi doon, especially on the use of social media and the disinformation. What are your thoughts on the update sa CIPRA?
Well, at the outset, I would have to say na I really haven't fully read the CIPRA in whole. I wasn't able to really monitor or track what it was happening. Because if I remember correctly, they published the CIPRA April 12 or April 13. And that was a few days before our results. So I think our batch, na parang, while we understood na, okay, the CIPRA is being published now, I think it was difficult for us to really focus on that kasi we were all just thinking na, lalabas na yung results in 48 hours or in 24 hours. So I'm not as familiar or as aware of the specific provisions in the CIPRA as I would like to be. So yeah, I just wanted to say that. But based from what the limited information I have also, that there are provisions on social media use, on misinformation, etc. And I think, it really is proper lang then that there are provisions governing. And while of course we have to realize that our private life is different from our professional life, I think when it especially comes to being a lawyer, it really, your profession really bleeds into your private life, eh? And sometimes it becomes inseparable. So it's proper also that, especially us as lawyers, na parang we also have to make sure that we are being responsible on what we post on social media. We have to make sure that we are using all of these different avenues properly, making sure that we are not contributing to any disinformation, and making sure that, especially us as lawyers who make a profession out of being critical, out of reading everything well, out of reading everything finely, we have to make sure that that extends also to the news that we share, to the articles that we read, and to the things that we post in social media.
Yeah. Punta naman tayo dun sa educational reform. Siguro, this is the last parts of our interview. Noong 2019, maraming calls na rin for educational reform, especially on the law education reform. They say na parang dapat, instead of focusing on the number of passers, maybe we can focus on producing more ethical and more lawyers na mag-adhere talaga dun sa kanilang oath na talagang to protect justice and to facilitate justice. Anong reaction mo doon? What are your thoughts on this? Do you believe there should be like reform or whatever?
I entirely agree that there needs to be reforms in legal education. And I think, the legal education now, kasi from what I've noticed also, is that it's really focused, well, a big chunk of it is focused on producing bar passers and bar top notchers. And I think that's also how the profession and how the culture in the Philippines came to be. Kasi nga, if I don't know if you've noticed yesterday, pero the bar exam results, as in talagang it was a spectacle, if you could call it that, na maraming even news media were covering it, maraming people were waiting for the results. So, and I understand that kasi as one of the people who was also waiting for the results, as one of the people na talagang inaabangan din, I recognize that kasi syempre this is the culmination of your 4 years in law school. But I am also realizing after speaking with some other friends na in other countries, in other jurisdictions, parang the bar exam is just that. It's a qualifying exam. It's not something that you put on a pedestal. It shouldn't be the be all and end all of your legal education. And I'm also realizing now that even if I top the bar, it doesn't mean that I'll become the greatest lawyer in my batch. It doesn't mean that I'll become the best lawyer in my batch. Because me topping the bar means that I aced an exam. But you know, an exam isn't you being a lawyer. An exam isn't legal practice. It just means that I have the minimum competencies to practice the legal profession. But it doesn't mean na in 1 or 2 years, ako na talaga yung magiging best lawyer out there. So I think that the focus on legal education shouldn't really be on how to pass the bar exam, but really on how you'll be a great lawyer. Whether that means you being a litigation lawyer, being a corporate lawyer, being in the government, being in an in-house counsel or whatever. I think legal education shouldn't be focused on review subjects, on passing the bar, on making sure that dapat alam niyo to kasi lalabas to sa bar, ganon. But mainly on building the competencies that you need, the skills you need, and of course, as you said, the mindset, the ethical standards, as well as the different attitudes or competencies that you need to be a good lawyer. And the bar exam, I think, should be treated just as that. It's a qualifying exam. It's like any other exam out there. Na if you pass, na na you passed in order to ensure that you have the minimum qualifications to become a member or to practice this profession. So yon. Basically, I think I agree na the legal education reform doesn't necessarily need to be in the content, but more so on the attitude of law schools, of people, of even, our society as a whole towards the bar exams, towards bar top notchers, and towards the legal education system.
Yeah, very well said. Matthew, wala na akong madagdag. Um, Ngayon, meron aside from the reforms in the legal education, marami din problema kinakaharap ang mga lawyers. Kasi sa Pilipinas, akala nila kapag lawyer talagang omnipotent, di ba? Parang all-knowing and
Yeah.
everything. Pero hindi na na-realize na kahit talagang sobrang noble profession ng lawyering, ang daming problema niyan.
Mhm.
As of 2021, 63 lawyers, kabilang yung mga judges and prosecutors yung pinatay. Most of them ay unsolved, considering na sila ay yung mga agents of justice. Anong thoughts mo dito sa mga pag-attack sa lawyer, red tagging sa lawyer, katulad ng nakaraan nung naglabas si Judge Marlo Malagar nung kanyang decision
Mhm.
on the CPP NPA, ang dami yung red tagging na experience. Anong thoughts mo sa attacks on lawyers?
Well, I think primarily that this is, that one of the things that you should really promote in our society is the rule of law. So I think a lot of people then have been attacking lawyers because they seem to realize, baka there's this mindset na, the lawyer is the problem. But that's not the case. Or the lawyer, having the lawyer out of the picture would solve your problem. But that's not the case. Na we really have to recognize that our justice system is in place to really solve problems, to handle cases like this. And just because now, for example, a judge decides this way or one way, it doesn't mean that this judge has this personal belief. Because I would like to think that our judges decide objectively based on the facts of the case, based on the circumstances presented before them, based on the evidence they have, and of course, based on the applicable law and jurisprudence. So, ayon, I think we really need, it is alarming for me that there are different attacks on lawyers, and I think um, society as a whole, particularly the legal profession, should also really strive to ensure that they are promoting the rule of law and trying to minimize, if not completely eliminate, all of these attacks and killings on lawyers.
Yeah. And isa siguro sa mga important questions ngayon, medyo tunog beauty pageant lang siya ng konti pero sobrang importante kasi malaman natin ang perception mo dito. Pero for you, anong essence of being a lawyer in this political climate, in this educational crisis, in this economic crisis? Anong essence ng pagiging lawyer or paglo-lawyer for the people?
Well, being a lawyer for the people for me means promoting the rule of law first and foremost, making sure that people understand that there are legal processes, that there are legal systems in place in order to properly solve any grievances, solve any problems. So talagang we have to recognize that this is the system now. But it doesn't mean that you can call for better reforms, for more efficiency, for ways that the system can manage all of these problems better. And I think promoting the rule of being a lawyer for the people in this age as well also means demystifying the law. I think many people are afraid to come to lawyers or are afraid or hesitant uh, to make use of the legal system kasi very technical ng system natin, madaming language na talagang it's it's hidden behind this legal jargon or legalese as we call it. So I think part of the being a lawyer for the people is also making sure that the law is accessible, not only in a sense that people have lawyers, but also in a sense that people understand their rights, their obligations, the different laws that are in place.
Yeah. Bilang last question natin, Matthew, yung mga law schools natin at yung mga law students natin, meron silang culture or parang tradition na tinatawag na parang saints, di ba? Yung pagdadasalan daw nila. I mean, ano lang, parang ilo-look up nila ganyan. Katulad nila ng mga nagtatop notch, katulad mo, parang ang dami kong nabasa na parang may bago ng santo ang UP College of Law dahil lalo na yung top 5 ay galing sa UP College of Law. Ngayon sa mga nanonood sa atin, mga aspiring lawyers, mga struggling law students, at mga batang nangangarap maging lawyer, anong gusto mong sabihin sa kanila?
Well, it's mainly two things. First, you have to be open to different things. So, I think that now that I passed the bar, I feel like I still don't know a lot of things. I'm realizing now in my work that the legal practice is really different from law school. So, I feel like I still have a lot more to learn, a lot more to grow. So, I'm keeping myself open to different kinds of experiences, to different kinds of work, different points of view and stuff like that. Para I would still have that room for me to grow, to know more. So it's a matter of being open to these kinds of experiences and not closing yourself off na, oh, alam ko na yan, or oh, I think, hindi ko na kailangan malaman yan kasi hindi naman ganyan yung gusto kong gawin. So it's really a matter of being open and accepting to these new experiences. And second, of course, is knowing what works for you. So napag-usapan nga natin kanina what I did for the bar exam, but that doesn't mean na kung anong ginawa ko, ito would also work for anyone who's listening now. Kasi we're all different people. We all have different ways of studying, of looking at things. So it's also, finding out what works for you and sticking to it. And even if sinabi ng mga other people na, oh, ito ginawa ko, kahit pa 10 sila magsabi na, oh, ito ginawa ko to pass the bar exam. If hindi naman gumagana yun for you, edi do something else. You know yourself the best. And all of these things should just be treated as suggestions on how you could be a better student, be a better lawyer.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, Matthew, and
Thank
congratulations ulit for topping the 120th bar exams. Talaga natutuwa ang buong Pilipinas sa iyong at proud na proud ang UP College of Law sa naabot mong tagumpay, and thank you for inspiring our viewers and mga aspiring lawyers. Maraming salamat ulit, Matthew.
Thank you very much.
This has been Rappler Talk. Thank you for watching. Once again, I'm Jairo Boledo. Bye.